Have you ever felt trapped by stress and anxiety? Like no matter what you do, peace stays just out of reach. What if there's a timeless set of insights that can help you tame those racing thoughts and find an inner calm, starting today? Stoicism, an ancient philosophy of resilience, offers exactly that. In this single flowing narrative, we'll explore how to conquer stress and anxiety by applying 15 powerful Stoic lessons, woven together in one continuous read. By the end, you'll see how small mindset shifts can bring lasting peace, even in the most chaotic times, without copying anyone else's script or chasing superficial fixes. Lesson 1. Understand what you can and can't control. A foundational Stoic principle is that the root of much stress lies in trying to control the uncontrollable. Imagine you're consumed by worry about a looming work deadline or the outcome of a pending medical test. There's only so much you can do. You can prepare your best for the project or follow medical advice, but you can't force the final outcome. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote that external events aren't fully ours to shape. Our real power, how we use our own mind, time, and energy. When you sense tension rising, heart pounding, mind spinning, ask yourself, is this anxiety about something I can actually influence, or am I fixated on what's ultimately beyond my grasp? That question alone can cut anxiety in half. Take a straightforward scenario. Your friend has grown distant. You try to reconnect, but they remain aloof. If you keep pushing, analyzing every subtle signal, you risk more distress. A Stoic approach is to clarify how you can respond. Perhaps you can calmly invite them to talk, keep an open heart, and remain respectful. Beyond that, the choice to re-engage is theirs. By letting go of the final outcome, you free yourself from the burden of their reaction. This approach doesn't mean cold indifference. It's more about refusing to let your well-being hang on unpredictable external factors. This lesson is central to stress management. Whenever you feel life's pressures intensify, maybe an unplanned expense, a traffic jam, or a child's exam results, stop and categorize. What can I do here? If there's action possible, do it wholeheartedly. If not, practice acceptance. It might feel counterintuitive if you're used to being in charge. But ironically, relinquishing the illusion of total control grants you true control over your own emotional state. As you hone this skill, you'll notice a gentle release of tension in daily life. Instead of carrying the weight of the world, you learn to carry only what's yours to lift, letting the rest unfold as it will. Anxiety recedes, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. Lesson 2. Shift your narrative to reduce self-imposed pressure. We often create our own stress by telling ourselves catastrophic stories. You might dwell on one slip at work, spinning it into everyone thinks I'm incompetent, or interpret a missed phone call as she's angry. I've lost that friendship. Stoicism suggests flipping that script. The ancient teacher Epictetus noted that events themselves aren't stressful. It's the stories we attach to them that cause distress. If you reframe negative narratives, you can drastically lower anxiety. For instance, imagine you freeze during a work presentation. An anxious mind might spiral. I embarrassed myself. I'll never be respected here. The Stoic approach is calmer. You might think, yes, I stumbled, but that's one moment. Next time I can prepare more or practice public speaking. My worth isn't canceled by one slip. By controlling your internal commentary, you break that chain of anxious catastrophizing. This doesn't mean ignoring mistakes. Instead, you extract the lesson. I'll practice further, without piling on self-judgment like, I'm a failure. Over time, you discover that controlling your interpretive lens leads to immediate stress relief. Stoics also encourage seeing short-term setbacks as potential opportunities. If your small business idea flops, you can either label yourself a hopeless entrepreneur or view it as valuable market research. The second view helps you pivot and refine your plan. Anxiety stems from the fear that failure is final. But if you call it an experiment, you lighten the emotional load. The same goes for personal relationships. If someone ghosts you, a negative story is, I'm unworthy. A Stoic reframe. Maybe they have their own issues, and I have no control over that. I'll focus on building connections with people who truly value my presence. Repeatedly practicing these mental shifts rewires your emotional patterns. Day by day, your stress about mistakes or rejections decreases as your perspective grows more balanced. You realize many crises stem from how you interpret the situation, not from the situation itself. In that recognition lies real empowerment. You become less dependent on external reassurance and better able to self-soothe and move on with integrity. Lesson 3. Practice mindful detachment from emotional hooks. Stress and anxiety often spike when we feel hooked by triggers, maybe a snide comment, a social media post that stings, or an overwhelming wave of negativity after reading news headlines. Stoics recommend training yourself to notice these emotional hooks without automatically biting. Imagine you're scrolling social media, see a friend's glamorous vacation photos, and instantly feel a pang. My life is dull. The Stoic tactic? Pause. Recognize that your envy arises from an internal reaction, not the photo itself. Then remind yourself, your worth and happiness can't hinge on comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. By naming the feeling, envy, fear, or insecurity, and observing it as separate from your true self, you reduce its power. A typical day might present numerous hooks. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your impulse is to honk, curse, or let anger brew all day. Stoics say, an event can't harm you unless you let it. So you respond with a patient slowdown, maybe a slight shake of the head, but you let the frustration dissipate quickly. Over time, you find your baseline anxiety drops because you're not carrying resentments from small daily aggravations. That's mindful detachment in action. This approach doesn't involve cold indifference to life's joys or pains. It's more about not letting fleeting stimuli sabotage your mental clarity. If a coworker is gossiping about you, you might feel that initial sting. But instead of ruminating or seeking revenge, you reflect, this is outside my control. I'll address it calmly if needed, but I won't internalize it. This breaks the cycle of stress around social drama. Stoic teacher Seneca often reminded us we hold the power to interpret external events. If we choose a measured, reasoned interpretation rather than an impulsive emotional reaction, our stress level plummets. By practicing small moments of detachment daily, you gradually reclaim mental space from dozens of trivial provocations, leaving your emotional energy for what truly enriches your life. Lesson 4. Embrace voluntary discomfort to build resilience. One surprising Stoic practice is intentionally experiencing mild discomfort, like skipping a meal, taking a cold shower, or going without certain comforts, for the sake of toughening yourself mentally. At first glance, this might sound unpleasant, but by exposing yourself to small, controlled hardships, you reduce your fear of bigger hardships. Think of it like training wheels for resilience. If you occasionally sleep on the floor instead of your bed, you realize how you can manage a less than ideal situation. That knowledge dispels anxiety about the unknown. Stoics recognize that dread of possible discomfort often fuels more stress than the discomfort itself. Practical examples. Maybe you vow to walk or bike instead of driving for a week, experiencing sweat or unpredictable weather. Or you temporarily budget yourself to spend less daily, learning you can endure a simpler lifestyle. Each step reveals you can exist happily without constant pampering. This counters the modern stress that arises when we can't get our usual coffee brand or the house's AC fails. By regularly stepping out of your comfort zone, you inoculate yourself against meltdown when bigger crises strike, like job loss or an unexpected hospital stay. You've built a track record. I can handle being physically uncomfortable, so a short financial rough patch is less terrifying. Moreover, these voluntary discomforts help you appreciate your normal comforts more. If you skip a meal occasionally, the next meal tastes divine. If you go without streaming services for a weekend, you rediscover simpler joys: reading, mindful conversation, nature. Over time, your perspective shifts. Convenience and luxury become nice to have, not essentials for my happiness. Anxiety decreases because the threat of losing these luxuries no longer feels catastrophic. You've proven to yourself that you can be just fine with far less. In short, mild self-imposed inconveniences transform you from a comfort-reliant worrier into someone who sees hardships as manageable, even opportunities to build deeper fortitude. Lesson 5. Use logical self-talk to calm panic loops. Picture that moment when stress or anxiety hits like a tidal wave. Your heart rate spikes, your mind races, and you feel a sense of impending doom. Stoics discovered a powerful remedy: rational self-questioning, or therapy by logic. Marcus Aurelius often wrote notes to himself, addressing his anxious thoughts with reason. You can do the same. For instance, in a moment of panic about an upcoming presentation, you might ask, what's the absolute worst that can happen? The rational part of you might see that even if you stumble, it likely won't devastate your entire career. Next question, how can I prepare so that the risk is minimized? The act of writing out or mentally reviewing these reasoned points can diffuse the panic loop. Another angle is to label your anxious assumptions. If you're thinking, I'll never succeed, identify it as a sweeping, emotional statement. Then calmly dissect it. Is it factually true that I'll never succeed? Probably not. I have succeeded in the past at other tasks. So what's different here? This conversation with yourself is not empty affirmation, but a genuine Stoic technique for cutting through emotional noise. Over time, you train your mind to spot catastrophizing or black and white thinking, halting them before they spiral. At times, you might involve a small physical anchor. Set a short timer for 60 seconds, close your eyes, and systematically question your fear. Is this fear realistically probable? Have I faced something similar? What's my coping plan if it does happen? The mere act of guiding your mind through these queries can bring significant relief because you shift from victim of your emotions to calm investigator of them. The outcome? Anxiety might not vanish instantly, but it becomes more manageable, overshadowed by the clarity that logic bestows. You reaffirm, in that calm moment, that you hold the power to direct your thoughts and quell the panic with grounded reflection. Lesson 6. Strive for progress, not perfection, especially with emotional healing. A major stress trigger is the feeling that you should be perfect by now, perfectly calm, perfectly accomplished, or perfectly happy. Stoics remind us that life is a continuous workshop. Even the most disciplined mind backslides sometimes. Suppose you blow up at a friend in a moment of anger, after months of trying to cultivate Stoic composure. The risk is to label yourself a hypocrite or a failure. But a more Stoic lens, I stumbled. Let me see what triggered me and plan for next time. I'm still on this journey. That self-compassion married to accountability helps you stand up quickly when you fall. The same mindset helps you handle anxiety recovery. Maybe you've had panic attacks for years and have started practicing breathing exercises and rational self-talk. Then a random day hits, and you get blindsided by severe anxiety again. If you assume you should never have anxiety anymore, you'll panic about the panic. But Stoic wisdom says, setbacks come. Recenter. Affirm your progress, reapply your tools, and keep going. This approach reduces the stress of perceived perfection failures. Over time, you discover that each lapse can be a teacher, highlighting blind spots or new insights for your practice. Instead of labeling an anxious episode as absolute regression, you see it as part of the learning curve. Think about how a baby learning to walk falls many times, but doesn't interpret those falls as personal failings. They keep attempting, eventually walking steadily. As an adult applying Stoic principles to stress, you adopt a similar stance. You might have a meltdown or a sleepless, worry-filled night. The next day, you calmly say, yes, I fell off track. Let me see what caused it, adapt, and move forward. That perseverance in imperfection ironically leads to more consistent emotional improvement. Freed from the pressure to be flawlessly Stoic, you become more Stoic naturally. The absence of self-flagellation fosters an environment of steady, gentle progress. Lesson 7. Value stillness and periodic solitude for clarity. Modern life rarely allows quiet moments. Yet Stoics recognize that inner peace thrives on purposeful stillness. This might mean carving out a few minutes in the morning to sit in silence, journaling your thoughts, or just focusing on your breath. Or it could be an evening walk without music or phone distractions. In these small pockets of solitude, you begin to disentangle your swirling thoughts, noticing patterns behind your stress. Suppose you're constantly worried about finances. By taking 10 minutes each morning for mindful reflection, you might see that your anxiety arises less from actual financial danger and more from childhood fears of scarcity. That awareness sets the stage for rational steps, budgeting, side projects, or therapy to heal old wounds. Stillness also helps you practice mental decluttering. You might discover, I'm carrying guilt from a petty conflict with a friend last week, and it's coloring my entire mood. With that insight, you can either resolve it or let it go, preventing it from silently fueling your stress. Another side benefit: quiet moments train you to be comfortable with your own company, free from external stimuli. If you find solitude initially unnerving, that might be a clue you rely heavily on external entertainment or validation to ward off uncomfortable self-reflection. Over time, though, you realize solitude is not loneliness. It's a chance to deepen self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius advised retreating into your own mind for peace, even in the busiest day. If the Roman emperor juggling empire affairs could do that, so can you. By fostering a daily or weekly practice, like 15-minute silent breaks, short breathing sessions, or a calm stroll in nature, your nervous system unwinds, your spirit recharges, and your perspective clarifies. Instead of being yanked around by every call or message, you cultivate an internal quiet that remains accessible. That quiet anchors you so that you can re-emerge into daily chaos with the grounded calm that Stoicism aims to cultivate, effectively insulating you from stress's worst attacks. Lesson 8. Channel fears into purposeful action. Anxiety frequently surfaces from the unknown or from fear that we're powerless in certain crucial areas, like job security, a relative's health, or the future of a relationship. Instead of letting that fear paralyze you, Stoicism suggests harnessing it as fuel for purposeful action. Ask yourself, if I'm anxious about losing my job, what can I proactively do? Perhaps you sharpen your skill set with an online course, build a side business, or network more effectively. That approach redefines fear from a mere stressor to a sign pointing you to potential improvements. Think of fear as an internal alarm clock. It signals something might be at stake, so you respond by preparing. Similarly, if you're worried about your aging parent, you can gather health resources, schedule check-ins, or discuss future care plans. That forward thinking not only reassures you that you're doing your best, but also fosters closeness. The difference between Stoic-driven action and reactive panic is that Stoic action is calm, stepwise, and rooted in the awareness that results remain uncertain, but efforts are wholly yours to shape. That clarity dissolves a chunk of anxiety because you're no longer sitting idle in what-ifs. You're engaged in constructive tasks. Seneca wrote that sometimes we suffer more in imagination than in reality. By pivoting your imagination from worst-case scenario dwelling to problem-solving, you unburden yourself from helplessness. Be mindful, though, that not every fear calls for external steps. Some revolve around events truly outside your realm, like a global recession or a distant friend's personal choices. In those cases, the Stoic approach is prepare where you can, then release. If you can't meaningfully intervene, you address your internal reaction through acceptance, emotional self-soothing, and gentle rational talk. In all situations, remember the motto: fear can be an impetus to reevaluate your approach to life. When you harness it for action, you convert anxious energy into forward momentum, leaving less emotional residue stuck in the form of stress or dread. Lesson 9. Approach crisis as a Stoic test of character. When genuine crisis hits, a serious illness, a personal loss, or a financial meltdown, it's tempting to crumble under the weight. Stoicism acknowledges the pain but reframes crisis as a test of character, an opportunity to prove, to yourself more than anyone, that your moral core stands firm when reality shakes you hardest. Imagine your business collapses after years of effort. A typical reaction is despair or self-blame. A Stoic reaction: Here is the trial that reveals how resilient and resourceful I can be. I accept the blow, grieve the loss, but then focus on next steps. That mental pivot takes you from victim to active participant in your own rebuilding. Let's see a smaller example. Your house floods unexpectedly. Instead of flailing or sinking into panic, a Stoic approach suggests quickly assessing what's salvageable, delegating tasks to mitigate damage, and staying composed so that emotional meltdown doesn't worsen the situation. Later, you might feel frustration or sadness about the ruined possessions, but you hold on to the perspective that possessions can be replaced, while your calm presence is invaluable in the recovery process. Another dimension is leaning on your Stoic training, such as daily mindfulness or negative visualization. Maybe earlier you had occasionally imagined losing your home's comforts. That exercise, ironically, helps you handle the real version with a bit more readiness. Instead of being blindsided, you think, I didn't want this, but I can manage. That acceptance shortens the panic phase and expedites practical solutions. Over time, people observing you in crisis notice your steadiness. Some might call it bravery or unflappable grace, but you know it's the fruit of Stoic practice. Accepting reality swiftly, focusing on solutions, resisting the temptation to spiral or blame, you embody the essence of a resilient mind. This attitude not only lowers your personal stress, but also fosters leadership. Others see you as a pillar in the storm. Next time crisis looms, you may still feel that pang of fear or sorrow, but you'll also feel a small flicker of confidence, a memory that says, I faced adversity before and turned it into a test of my character. I can do it again. Lesson 10. Rein in comparisons. Your journey is yours. Comparisons are a major source of stress, especially in the age of social media. You see acquaintances traveling the world, building dream businesses, or flaunting perfect relationships, and you wonder, am I behind? Am I doing enough? Stoicism warns about these external yardsticks, urging you to measure yourself against your own virtues, not others' achievements. Each life path is unique, shaped by distinct challenges and resources. Another person's timeline or highlight reel rarely reflects their full reality. Meanwhile, pitting yourself against that curated image drains energy and fosters envy or discouragement. The Stoic solution is to keep your gaze on your personal progress. Are you a bit wiser, kinder, or more disciplined than last year? That's the meaningful metric. Say a friend buys a flashy car. The typical reaction is to admire or envy, or wonder, why not me? Stoicism suggests, her new car is neither good nor bad for me. It's just an event in her life. My real concern is how I can cultivate my own path, improving my finances, or focusing on what I truly value. By shifting away from comparison, you carve out mental space for gratitude and self-improvement. The same principle helps in emotional contexts. If your sister is known as the successful one in the family, you might feel overshadowed. Instead, realize you both have distinct journeys. Are you living by your principles? Are you pursuing a meaningful line of work or personal passions? That's the question, not, am I overshadowing her success? Over time, you'll see that letting go of comparisons significantly reduces stress because you're no longer racing in someone else's lane. You define success by your own moral standards and personal goals. This fosters a quiet autonomy, where your sense of progress depends on your commitment to your best self, not on the illusions or fortunes of others. Freed from envy or self-doubt, you can celebrate others' wins while working steadily on your own growth, forging deeper contentment and genuine empowerment. Lesson 11. Embed daily reflection and mindful evenings. One of the most potent Stoic practices is the end-of-day reflection, a simple but consistent ritual for stress relief. You set aside a few minutes before bed to review your day's events, thoughts, and emotional responses, calmly, without harsh judgment. You might mentally replay an awkward conversation and ask, could I have handled that with more patience? Or reflect on a small victory. I managed not to blow up despite being tired. This daily mental inventory fosters a mindful approach to improvement. Over time, It rewires your brain to catch moments of stress or negativity earlier in the day. Next time a coworker irritates you, you'll remember your previous reflection and perhaps respond more calmly in the moment. Consider pairing the reflection with a short gratitude check. Recall at least one instance where you overcame frustration or showed empathy. By acknowledging these small wins, you reinforce self-efficacy. I am capable of acting with virtue under pressure. If a day was rough, you approach it with a stoic lens. Yes, I had a meltdown or snapped at a friend, but tomorrow is a fresh chance. Let me glean the lesson from this slip. This approach wards off spirals of guilt or shame, which can hamper your motivation. Instead, you look forward with a plan. Maybe you decide, I'll take a 30-second pause next time I sense anger rising. Over months, you see progress in emotional control, fewer regrets about hasty words, and a quieter mind at bedtime. The Stoic Aurelius wrote personal notes each night, reminding himself that days are fleeting and moral progress is what truly counts. By weaving a nightly reflection and a bit of gratitude into your routine, you consistently lighten the stress load. You no longer carry today's unresolved tensions into tomorrow. This cyclical process shapes your daily life with clarity and a sense of direction, letting you rest more peacefully. Each night's reflection is another thread in the tapestry of your calm, purposeful existence. Lesson 12. Walk away from toxic environments calmly. Sometimes, the greatest stress in your life springs from an unhealthy environment, be it a workplace that undervalues you, a friend group that fosters negativity, or even a romantic relationship riddled with disrespect. Stoicism maintains that while you can't always alter external conditions, you can choose your presence there. That might mean quietly exiting a conversation that's devolving into malicious gossip, or, in extreme cases, leaving a job or partnership that consistently violates your well-being. The Stoic idea is not to do so in anger or dramatic upheaval, but from a place of rational self-respect. My values don't align with this situation, so I'll withdraw. Let's consider an office scenario. Your boss regularly belittles you, fueling daily anxiety. You've tried addressing it diplomatically, but nothing changes. A Stoic approach recognizes you cannot force your boss to transform. You can, however, plan your exit strategy, updating your resume, discreetly job hunting, or seeking a role that respects your dignity. Once you secure a better path, you calmly depart, not seeking revenge or engaging in a blowout fight. Freed from that environment, you notice your stress levels drop significantly. That shift demonstrates how stepping away from toxic influences can restore mental peace. The same logic applies to personal relationships. If a friend or relative consistently drains you with manipulative or belittling behavior, you might scale back time spent with them or set boundaries that prioritize your emotional safety. Stoicism doesn't advocate isolation, but it does emphasize not sacrificing your moral or mental health for relationships that erode your sense of self. Over time, others might realize your boundaries are non-negotiable, and ironically, some might adjust their behavior to keep you around. If not, you accept that your path diverges from theirs. This approach spares you from drowning in negativity that's beyond your control. You reclaim the right to a calmer existence, focusing on forging connections that build you up, not tear you down. Lesson 13. Cultivate service. Find purpose in helping others. While Stoicism often focuses on self-mastery, it also points to a deeper dimension, using your strengths to serve the common good. Stress can fade when you place your daily struggles in the context of contribution. That coworker drama? A Stoic approach might be to wonder how you can help the team function better, shifting from, "This is an annoyance to me," to, "I can be a stabilizing force for everyone." This perspective lifts you beyond personal stress into a sense of mission. Likewise, if you're anxious about personal finances, it's ironically refreshing to volunteer or donate your time or resources to those in greater need. The act of helping can highlight your own resilience and blessings, mitigating stress over what you lack. Epictetus taught that true happiness arises from living in accordance with our rational, social nature, which includes empathy and mutual support. If you're overwhelmed by the chaos of daily life, consider ways you can channel your skills to assist others, tutoring, caring for a neighbor's child, or simply listening when someone's in emotional pain. Not only does it break your rumination cycles, but it also fosters gratitude and a sense of belonging. Instead of feeling trapped in your personal woes, you realize you hold the power to lighten someone else's burden. That discovery can shift your vantage from fear to empowerment. Furthermore, women often find a sense of unstoppable solidarity when they connect efforts to a broader cause, be it women's health, education, or community building. By focusing outward, your internal stress often recedes, replaced by purpose. The entire Stoic notion is that you refine your moral character by acts of service. This yields a feedback loop. Serving others reaffirms your virtue, fueling deeper confidence, which in turn helps you face your own anxieties with renewed perspective. Over time, you see stress not as a lonely struggle, but as impetus to direct your talents toward uplifting those around you. And ironically, that outward generosity often yields personal serenity as a byproduct. Lesson 14. Reframe mistakes as lessons for future wisdom. Anxiety frequently thrives on regret, beating yourself up over a past blunder or missed opportunity. Stoicism counters that error is human, and what truly matters is using mistakes as stepping stones for wisdom. Let's say you mishandled an important conversation with your child, leaving them feeling hurt. The reflex might be to spiral into guilt, repeating, "I messed up. I'm a bad mom." The Stoic pivot. "Yes, I slipped. Let's see what triggered me, what my child needed that I overlooked, and how I can do better next time." By focusing on the lesson, you transform guilt into constructive growth. The result? Less stress about "I failed," replaced by "I'm evolving." This principle also applies to professional realms. If you miscalculate a budget or lose a key client, ruminating on the "if only I had" is unproductive. A Stoic perspective recognizes that errors happen, but if you use them to sharpen your process, it's no longer a total loss. Instead of "I can't believe I messed up," you'd ask, "What can I adjust so this doesn't happen again?" Was it a communication gap or a rushed approach? By systematically analyzing mistakes, you turn each shortfall into valuable data. Over time, you fear mistakes less because you know each one is a potential lesson. Anxiety loosens its grip when you see that failing in the short term isn't a condemnation of your worth or potential. Crucially, Stoics also emphasize self-forgiveness. If you cling to mistakes as permanent stains on your character, you sabotage future success by dwelling in regret. Instead, remind yourself that the key is internal progress. Seneca might say that dwelling too long on a slip-up is another form of wasted time, time that could be spent improving. So by reframing mistakes as part of your moral apprenticeship, you maintain a sense of hope and direction. Anxiety stemming from perfectionism and self-criticism wanes, replaced by an eagerness to refine your approach. This shift fosters a culture of growth within yourself, leading to less stress and more confident experimentation in all spheres of life. Lesson 15. Live each day as a practice of Stoic peace. Ultimately, Stoicism is not about memorizing philosophical quotes or wearing a cloak of detachment. It's about daily, lived application, letting your reactions, your daily tasks, your relationships be guided by calm reason, inner virtues, and acceptance of what is. To truly conquer stress and anxiety, you embed Stoic calm into the routine moments, from how you greet the morning to how you handle bedtime reflections. Are you anxious upon waking? You might do a brief check. What truly demands my energy today? Which worries can I let go because they're out of my sphere? That sets the tone for a day that's more purposeful, less scattered. During your daily interactions, you aim to remain present. If a colleague is venting about office politics, you listen kindly but refrain from being sucked into the drama. When your partner forgets a chore, you consider if anger is warranted or if a calm reminder is enough. You see each mini-situation as a chance to practice Stoic tranquility. Over time, these micro-decisions accumulate, weaving a tapestry of consistent emotional stability. The transformation is subtle yet powerful. Your coworkers might note, "She never panics under pressure," or your family might say, "She's become so patient and clear in addressing conflicts." But the real success is internal, a daily sense of steady grounding that stress can't easily erode. Additionally, you hold on to Stoic memento mori, remembering that life is fleeting. That awareness spurs you to engage wholeheartedly with what matters and shake off trivial anxieties. You find less reason to delay living, less reason to stew in regrets or illusions. Each morning is an invitation to bring your Stoic training to life. By night, you reflect calmly, refining your approach for tomorrow. In this continuous dance, stress and anxiety don't vanish, but their hold on you weakens significantly. You become the steady pilot navigating life's unpredictable weather with unwavering confidence, certain that your mind is the one realm you truly command. These 15 lessons are more than philosophical curiosities. They're deliberate, daily steps toward mental clarity and emotional resilience. From letting go of what you can't control to transforming anxiety into a nudge for growth, Stoicism offers a framework you can begin using immediately. Picture the relief of no longer spinning in stress-laden circles, of waking with calm resolve, and of facing life's storms with a centered spirit. If you found these insights meaningful, hit that like button, share them with someone you care about, and subscribe for more explorations into ancient wisdom for modern life. May your journey forward be guided by quiet strength and unwavering peace.